Just before we get into this video, guys, if you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, the links are here. And if you also want to support me on Patreon as well and help out my channel, that would be absolutely awesome as well. But let's get on with the video. All right, fuckers, and welcome back to the Just Wing It podcast. Will that do? That'll be a good intro, would it?
I don't know. It's your thing.
Yeah, all right, fuck it. We'll keep on then. So it has been a long, long time. I didn't actually realise how long it's actually been since I've done a podcast. It's been like 2 or 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, 2 months does sound rather accurate.
I know.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Because
We've got to keep on these and do more of them.
Exactly. Well, my aim was to do like one every 2 or 3 weeks, and it's just not happened. So hopefully I can get back into the swing of things now. But
yeah, if we aim for like every 2 weeks, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, there's a few people that I want to get on it as well, so I'll have to see what their schedules are. But hopefully, make it a more consistent thing now, because people seem to enjoy the last couple, which is good.
Yeah.
Right then. So, the first podcast, I said if anybody had any questions, and I've got 3 here, and I've written them down, but I don't have the people's names, so I do apologise. But, so the first one is, and I have passed this by you before, as I just mentioned before we started recording, are we a couple?
No. There we go. Short and sweet.
Yeah,
the answer is no.
I like how we've been shipped on the internet. I like that.
Well, it's quite nice, but it's a no from me.
Nah, no, I mean, I'm very happy with my girlfriend at the minute, so I don't want to ruin anything. But if it ever goes tits up, I'll call you first. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, like it's been 12 years. That's a safe backup right there.
Exactly. Yes. Anyway, I don't know why people ask that and why people care.
Yeah, it is a strange one. It did take me by surprise when you first mentioned it, but
because that was like the first question that I got as well, and I was just like, okay. Great.
Well, it's the internet. It's
What would our ship name be?
People just love asking that question.
Would our Dingy,
Dingy,
Wingy and Dan, or is it like Wan or Win? Wangy.
I mean, we could always ask for suggestions.
I don't think we want to go down this path because I fear we would never return.
Yeah, maybe. Pop in the comments what you think would be a good name for us.
Yeah, what would our ship name be? That's a challenge for you for this week. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Next one was the best era of 80s Who.
Okay, so I'm not particularly qualified to answer that because I haven't seen as much as classic Who as you have. So I wouldn't be able to give an answer.
It's probably Peter Davison, though, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
I don't think there's anything in McCoy's or Baker's era that's better than Earthshock or Caves.
Yeah, I was going to say Earthshock was the first one that I thought of there. It's the only one that I've really seen.
Yeah.
From that time there. I really need to catch up, to be fair. There's so much I need to watch.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. Because they all have the good moments, but I think for a consistent basis, I'm going to have to go with Peter Davison on that one. But they're all good in their own ways. Anyway, and then finally, and this is how long it has been since we've done a podcast, thoughts on James Gunn's firing from Guardians of the Galaxy? I mean, obviously, this is very topical at the moment, so...
Well, we're incredibly behind, but better late than never.
Exactly.
I know we've discussed this anyway.
Yes, over many drinks.
It's a very controversial thing to talk about, I think, given the severity of the situation. I mean, we both like James Gunn anyway. We like the Guardians films.
Yeah.
I wasn't such a big fan of the first one when it first came out.
Really?
And then I saw the second. Yeah. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just my mood at the time or what, but I wasn't engaged in the first one. Really enjoyed the second one. Went back, and then completely reassessed the first one completely, and now I love them both.
Okay. Well, I agree with that, and I think it is a shame. On the one hand, I do understand why they got rid of him, but on the other hand, it is a bit.
It makes perfect sense. Because I don't agree at all with the content of the tweets that were published.
I think it's very reactionary, though. I don't think. Yeah. I think Marvel sort of went, fuck, right, people are offended, right, get rid of him. Like, I don't think they really thought it out. Like,
the problem
I don't know.
They, from what I heard, they knew about the tweets anyway.
Yeah. So if they already knew, why didn't they fire him before people made an issue of it?
It is a strange one because on the one hand, you do kind of understand from a business perspective why they would part ways with him. On the other hand, it's like, well, there's no right way of going about it because you're always going to have people saying yes, it was the right choice, and people saying, they shouldn't have done that. At the end of the day, the tweet should not have been made.
No.
I think that's what it boils down to. No matter what he was, if he was, he said, oh yeah, they're just jokes. That was my humour at the time, and he worked for, if you look at his back stuff with Troma, that's the humour there. So that's where he came from. So it's clear that he's grown a lot since doing like trashy movies with that kind of humor. Then he has grown as a person in that 10 years, but at the same time, I don't, the tweets, he should never have really made them to begin with.
But I think that's the problem with society at the minute, is it seems like you're not allowed to change because people do make mistakes. And I'm sure there's people who are listening to this and people like both of us really and other people that we know and other celebrities that they have tweeted or posted something that is probably not in the best taste, but they're not that person anymore. And I feel it's, like I said, it's really reactionary that people just jump on it from things from a few years ago and that's reason enough to get rid of somebody. I personally don't agree with that. The fact that people, like I say, aren't allowed to grow up anymore, and people just get offended at everything. But
it's more their loss because isn't he doing Suicide Squad 2 now? DC have grabbed him.
Yeah. I mean, I think that should be good for Suicide Squad 2, but I can't see that doing too well after the first one.
Or it might be one of those rare cases in which the second one is just a huge improvement on the first.
Possibly.
I mean, I wasn't a fan at all of Suicide Squad.
I was initially, but now I'm not.
Oh, what changed?
I think it's the Joker. It frustrates me more and more because it's not necessarily Jared Leto's performance, it's the fact that the Joker should have been the main villain and not weird, wiggly Cara Delevingne and the other one.
And it was always going to be difficult following on from Heath Ledger as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That was always going to be such a huge, monumental task for anybody that took over. So fair play for Jared Leto for being ambitious enough and bold in what he did to follow up from that, because that's a huge task in itself.
Oh yeah,
taking over from where Heath Ledger left off, because I don't think anybody is going to top that.
No, exactly. But speaking of legacies and also with Guardians, Marvel, by the time this comes out, it'll have been about a week, maybe more so. Obviously, we've recently lost Stan Lee, which is not fun at all. But it's so weird because Stan Lee's one of those people where you never expect him to be gone, and it's really weird because the guy was 95. He had so many different problems in the last few years as well, but it's still a shock that he's passed away.
Yeah, it was like the most dreaded eventuality for all of us, I think. It was definitely a shock to the system, because I know you messaged me first, but by that point Twitter was just going insane.
Oh yeah, no. As soon as I saw his name trending, I was like, "Fuck, I know what this is."
It was definitely, and it's still strange to think about it now.
I know.
To be fair.
Well, what day was it? Because we're recording this on a Sunday.
It was Monday.
Monday, so just nearly a week then.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just strange, but it's like you look at the guy's impact and his life, and you can't really be like, "Oh, if only he did this," because he did everything. Really, when it comes to comic books, like he is the pioneer in comic books, and like him and Jack Kirby created some of the most iconic characters of all time.
He's pretty much shaped pop culture as it is today.
Yeah, essentially.
Responsible for so much.
Yeah, he really is. But I also think what's absolutely incredible, and I didn't realise this, is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the Fantastic Four the first one that he did?
I think it was one of the first.
One of the first. He was nearly 40.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So people out there who are thinking like, "Oh, I wish I could do this, but I can't," and blah blah blah. This guy was nearly 40 before he created the Fantastic Four, which would inevitably lead on to him creating characters like Spider-Man, and then go into other characters. Yeah, the X-Men, and then Daredevil, and all these different characters. I think it's amazing.
That was definitely the starting off point for all those like iconic comics. I think it all began there.
Yeah.
And then it just snowballed into this gigantic empire that since took over pop culture as we know it today.
I mean, in the 90s, I don't think anybody could have predicted this, because Marvel went bankrupt. That's why all the characters are all over the place. That's why some are at Fox and at Sony, and that's why Spider-Man's being lent about and all this sort of stuff. But now, everywhere you go, like Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, these characters that, let's be honest, weren't massive characters a few years ago, now have just blown up and are arguably as popular, some even more so popular than characters like the X-Men and like Spider-Man.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think there's never going to be another Stan Lee.
No,
there isn't. And Marvel and comics in general, I don't think it's not really going to be the same. Like with that, even though he hasn't written anything, for a few years, like his presence alone was like he is the king of comics. And now that that's gone, there is it does feel like there is a gaping hole in the industry now that he has gone.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this the other day, and Stan Lee was just because like Stan Lee's like my number one hero,
Yeah,
pretty much. Like Stan Lee to me is what Tom Baker is to you.
yeah, pretty much.
And I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, because I first more or less discovered Stan Lee through an old episode of the Spider-Man '90s cartoon with the Venom saga.
All right.
And on the VHS of that, there was like a 10-minute introduction with Stan Lee, and he like introduced the episode, and he then kind of gave a brief history of Marvel Comics, and it showed us covers from Spider-Man and X-Men and the Avengers and all sorts with art like from Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, who sadly we also lost this year as well.
Yeah.
And all these other artists. And then from that moment, I was like completely hooked. And Stan Lee just like sold it. I was like, God, this guy's pretty fucking cool. And then that just led into me being obsessed with it all. And Stan Lee is pretty much the reason why I want to write stories and make comics and all that. He's very much the one that made me want to do it. So there's just so much to thank him for in that respect, as well as I'm sure there are so many others. I believe Mark Miller and Brian Michael Bendis as well said how influential he was to them and how he made them want to make comics as well.
Yeah, well, it's like, speaking of first introductions, I mean, obviously, me and you are both very familiar with a certain Spider-Man game from the year 2000. And, yeah, exactly. It's such a good, like, PS4 Spider-Man game. Fuck off. This was the real one. This was amazing. But it's just, like, the intro to that is Stan Lee, like, welcome, true believers. And then, like, all the menus and whatnot, his voice was there, and you just felt it throughout. And obviously, he's appeared in every single Marvel movie and a couple of the TV shows as well. So it's going to be so weird. There's going to be a moment now, because I suppose a sort of silver lining to this is we at least get another couple appearances, one in Captain Marvel and then one in Avengers 4, whatever that'll be titled.
I believe that'll be the last one as well, won't it?
Yeah, that's the last one that he filmed. So after that, it's going to be really weird not seeing him in any movies.
The cameos in the Marvel films are something to look forward to in themselves as well. Aside from the entire movie, every time I went in to sit down to watch a Marvel film, it's like, I wonder what Stan Lee's going to be up to this time.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, speaking of Stan Lee cameos, what would you say is your favourite one? Not just like the MCU, but out of whether it's the Tobey Maguire ones or the X-Men or anything like that. I know what mine is straight away, but I'll let you think about it first.
I've got two.
Okay.
I love the one where he's is it where he's with the Watcher?
Oh yeah.
And he's with those guys up in space.
Yeah, which one's that? I know exactly which one you mean as well. Where he's got the helmet on.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Ragnarok, but that's where he's cutting his hair. Is it Guardians 2?
Okay. I was thinking that.
I think it might be Guardians 2.
Yeah. To be fair, Guardians 2 does seem more accurate there. And Spider-Man 3. It's just the moment where he's with where he's stood next to Tobey Maguire and he says, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said. It's like the simplest cameo he's done. But
was that 3 or was it 2?
For me. Pardon?
Was that 3 or was it 2?
3.
Was it?
Yeah. It was after Spider-Man gets the key to the city. It was after he saves Gwen Stacy from the crane and all that.
Oh, alright, yeah. Well, mine's also a Spider-Man one, but mine's the Amazing Spider-Man. The one where he's in the library.
And he's got the headphones on, and
it's so funny as well because it's so focused on him just sort of flicking through books and whatnot, but in the background, sort of blurred, you just see Spider-Man and the Lizard just wailing at each other, and it really tickled me the first time I saw that. And I mean, the Thor Ragnarok one I think is pretty cool as well, but I really like the Infinity War one as well, where he's just the bus driver.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
Again, and that's just a simple one.
And Deadpool as well. Where is it?
He's the DJ.
Yeah. Even though I'm not huge on the Deadpool films, that was a pretty great cameo.
It was. And speaking of, there was one thing that when everyone heard that there was going to be a Deadpool movie, I think the one thing that everyone was expecting was, Deadpool is going to recognise Stan Lee. And it wasn't technically in one of the films, but for the teaser for Deadpool 2, where Stan Lee's there and Deadpool's just like, zip it, Stan Lee. I'm so glad we got a moment like that as well.
Yeah. It's definitely going to feel very strange not seeing Stan Lee in these movies. And we all know it's coming at the end of Avengers 4. It's going to say dedicated to Stan Lee.
It's possibly Captain Marvel. Because that's the next one. But I know what you mean. It doesn't feel right. It should be the Avengers because it's all of them.
Yeah, it's pretty much most of the, aside from X-Men and Fantastic Four, it's so many of his creations in one movie, and it would make sense for it to be that one.
Yeah, but I have a feeling it will be Captain Marvel because it is the next one out. But I don't know. Another thing as well, and I mean, I'm not going to go into the complaints about him since,
No,
because I think there's a time and a place for that. I mean, the guy's just died. Like, if you have issues, then fair enough, but at least save it for another time. But one of the main complaints I do take umbrage with, because I honestly believe, and I think you've said this to me as well, is the fact that, considering the time that he started all this, his creations are actually quite progressive.
Yeah,
because it's like, I was looking this up. I mean, he didn't create Blade, but he did create Black Panther.
The first black superhero.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure he created Luke Cage as well. I could be wrong on that. And also Daredevil, who was the first technically disabled superhero.
Daredevil as well was
not the
very
first, because there's
underrated.
Charles Xavier.
Yeah. But Daredevil himself was, very underrated when that came out. A lot of people referred to him as like a B-grade Spider-Man.
Yeah.
When he first, when Daredevil first came out, it was only Frank Miller who kind of reinvented Daredevil as to what we know Daredevil as today, and like the Netflix shows and the whole Elektra storyline. That's pure Daredevil.
Oh yeah, the
But
Daredevil
it
TV show
seems
was great.
all of this, Stan Lee started so much, and that there's definitely not going to be another creator who makes that much of an impact on comics and even cinema now as well. I mean, look how big the MCU is. That's one of the giants of cinema now, which I don't think
that'll
when
never be
superhero
replicated.
films- no, as much as all these studios are trying to do like the Dark Universe or the DC Universe, it's not going to be as huge as that. It was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, and it's all sort of a byproduct of what Stan Lee and many other people created many years ago.
Yeah, when when superhero films were coming out in the 2000s, like the Ben Affleck Daredevil and Catwoman, I don't think anybody would have thought that the superhero films would be as big and as popular as they are today. I mean, they've converted so many like non-comic book fans as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Like
still
these-
people now who haven't picked up a comic book in their entire life, yet they can tell you all about Hulk, or they can tell you all about the X-Men, or whoever.
And that's great. That's fantastic. But at the same time, I'm like, read a comic. Come on.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That is the. But I mean, do you think the comic books back in the day, like the original ones that Stan Lee was a part of, do you think they still hold up today?
I was reading some of the older Amazing Spider-Man stuff with Steve Ditko, and they're still incredibly enjoyable.
Really?
I think. Yeah, definitely. It was because the first one I read, and this has been incredibly specific, but it was like Amazing Spider-Man number 11,
Okay.
where Peter Parker is unmasked by Doc Ock, and J. Jonah Jameson and Betty Brant witness this. And that's still, it's such a fun story, and all of them are as well. The old Fantastic Four stuff, and all of it. It's still so fun, and I think they do hold up. To be fair, you can definitely tell they're a product of the '60s, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Doctor
stories
Strange
are
as
just-
well was definitely of its time, with all the
Yeah.
psychedelic stuff that was going on. And I mean, to
Very
be
true.
fair, even Fantastic Four had a lot of weird space shit going on.
well, yeah, definitely. Doctor Strange, being one of the trippiest, but Steve Ditko played a huge part in that as well with his artwork, because his art especially, and I love of all the pairings of Stan Lee, with Jack Kirby or John Romita, my favourite stuff with Stan Lee is always with Steve Ditko, and I don't know if that's because that's the first stuff that I saw, or what, but there's something about Steve Ditko's artwork that's just it's very kind of fragile and very awkward, but it's also rather wonderful at the same time. And no other artist has really got a style like that. The Steve Ditko Doctor Strange artwork is just some of the best looking comics.
I
of
agree with
time.
that.
I'd say it's incredibly dazzling stuff. It sucks that that we now live in a world without Stan Lee in it, and it definitely feels a bit emptier without him in it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people should take influence from him, what he did, because, like I say, not what I said like a few minutes ago, the fact that he was nearly 40, it just goes to show you that you can do anything. Like, the latter half of his life was arguably the most successful, because nowadays people say, oh, I'm too old to do this, I'm not good enough or anything like that. Just keep at it, and it'll work. And we shouldn't as well dismiss the fact that I mean, a lot of people will associate Stan Lee with Marvel, and rightly so, but he also did quite a fair work for DC in his time.
I didn't actually know that.
Didn't you? Well,
No.
well, after a time, I think Jack Kirby moved across to DC, and it wasn't like Stan Lee worked for DC. I think it was every now and again, like he'd be like a guest writer or something like that.
Right, yeah.
I could be wrong on this, but
crossover, didn't they?
yeah, there was multiple different crossovers. But I think Stan Lee created. Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of Jack Kirby there. But no, I'm definitely sure that Stan Lee wrote a couple of stories for various characters. I think he might have written Batman. Again, I don't do my fucking research, but there you are.
Stan Lee writing Batman. I must seek this out.
If it exists. Actually, just on the topic of Batman, did you hear about that comic the other week where it's got Batman's penis in it?
I may have done.
The Batcock.
The Batcock.
Yeah.
Which series was this? Because I'm kind of.
It's a really recent one. I can't remember. I think it's like issue number 1. But what they did, that I like how we've gone from talking about the legacy of a man who has just died to talking about Batman's genitals. But I do apologise. We just wing it here. But anyway, so there's a limited edition basically, one with his penis, and then the rest doesn't. It like blurs it out, or it's just like a shadow or something. But yeah, it's bizarre. I don't think Stan Lee was involved in that one.
No, I think I know which one you're referring to. Is it Batman Damned?
Possibly.
That's the latest, from what I understand.
Yes, but anyway, yeah. But enough of penises. Yeah, it is going to be weird now, and like you say, we'll never get another Stan Lee. But just be thankful that he was here, I guess, because I'm very much in the mindset of don't mourn the loss, celebrate the life.
And 95 is that's a bloody good run.
Oh yeah, I mean everybody would want to get to that age.
We're lucky to have had Stan Lee for as long as we did.
Indeed. Well, Excelsior Stan, that's what I say.
Enough said.
So, for you guys listening at home, you may not be aware that I'm bearing in mind this will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen Venom, then maybe skip this bit. But I am a massive, massive Venom fanboy. Like, he is my favourite Marvel villain, and obviously in recent years he's been more of an anti-hero, and he's not just Eddie Brock. We've had Anti-Venom, we've had Agent Venom, we've had Scorpion as Venom, and Carnage as Venom, and all this sort of stuff. I absolutely adore Venom, and when I heard that they were making a film of him, I thought, probably better with Spider-Man, but I see how it can still work. And then I watched it, and I thought, okay, it's not everything that I wanted, but I really enjoy this. Dan, however, you share a slightly different opinion.
Oh, it's so bad.
But what's bad about it?
It's not a good movie at all, and I can look past the fact that Spider-Man's not in it.
Yeah, they couldn't really avoid that.
Yeah, that wasn't one of my gripes when, when they announced the whole Venom solo movie thing. So I went in with really looking forward to it, open mind. I had seen some of the negative reviews leading up to it, and I'd seen that it was getting quite the trashing. But then I started seeing that there were, general moviegoers that were responding to it quite well. So I thought, this might be the case where it's general audiences versus critics, because that happens so often. So I sat down, quite looking forward to it. I was like, okay, this could be something quite great, and I was bored senseless throughout the vast majority of the film. And the problem with it is, well, everything.
That's unfair. I wouldn't say everything is wrong with it.
All right, I'll talk about the stuff I liked. Venom himself looks great.
Yes.
He looks way better than he did in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, but it's not hard. So put on a morph suit and you look better than that bloody Venom.
Yeah. So his appearance is fine. They got the design right, and and the voice as well, and the dynamic between Eddie and Venom is, that can be quite fun.
It's the best part of the film, I'd say.
Yeah, although it does take us, a good 50 minutes to get to that?
I actually timed it because I watched it again online, very legally, and it's about 45 minutes, so pretty much bang on halfway through the film that Venom shows up.
My issues with it is it seems very rushed and very first draft.
Yeah.
And it seemed like there wasn't exactly a lot of time spent on the script. It felt like it was written in a weekend, and that they just bashed it out and thought, that'll do, and this will be great, and everyone will love it. But I wasn't invested with anything in that film. I didn't care about Eddie Brock's relationship with his girlfriend. I didn't care about the shady stuff going on with all the symbiotes. I didn't as soon as Venom like started, as soon as the symbiote attached itself to Eddie, I was like, oh, okay, it might pick up now. And it does for about 2 minutes, and then I got bored again. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if by this point, because like say 45-minute mark, quite a long time when you're waiting for some good action. By that point, I don't know if I just stopped caring, or if I could just tell that the filmmakers themselves just didn't really give a shit. So I wasn't blown away by the action sequences. I thought they were quite dull as well. I think Tom Hardy's performance as Venom is quite awkward. It's like a little bit goofy, a little bit cartoonish at times. Not sure what he was exactly going for with that, but that wasn't really the Eddie Brock I know.
No, he is more of a grizzled sort of tough guy, and you didn't really
like
get
a
that.
bodybuilder.
But the thing, right, I do agree with you about the relationship, and this is one major gripe that I had watching the film, which was, what was her name? Annie?
I can't remember.
The woman,
Yeah,
anyway.
We're just going to call her Anne.
Yeah, his girlfriend. So, at the start of the film, like, they're together, they're dead happy, like, they're engaged, blah, 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 they've got a cat together, all this sort of stuff. And then he inadvertently gets her fired, which I thought was okay, I didn't mind that. But then she's just like, right, I'm leaving you. And then the next scene that you see her, she's moved in with somebody else. Like, some new guy's moved into their place, and it just felt, because they don't really explicitly say how much time has passed, I don't know if that's 2 weeks, I don't know if that's 2 months, I don't know what that is. And it just seemed really bizarre. And I was, after that, because it seemed to me like so soon, I was like, well, you're a dick. Like, 1 minute ago you were madly in love with this guy, next you're leaving him for admittedly a valid reason, but slightly overreacting, and now you're with another guy.
To be fair, the movie did say 6 months later.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Alright, that's my bad then.
Four and did a time jump.
Okay, that's my bad then.
I always hate in these movies anyway, unless the time jumps happen like after the first scene, it's okay. But about 20 minutes into the film, and then it does like a whole 6 months later thing. It's kind of lazy, and it can be a bit jarring as well. I was like, oh, great, here we go.
Something that I did think was actually quite refreshing in terms of like the rival love interest, like her new guy, was he wasn't a dick. Usually you would expect them to be like, oh, well, Eddie Brock, what a loser. But he's actually just like a really nice guy. And if anything, he's probably better for her than Eddie was. Like, I thought that was actually quite cool. Because I'm going to talk about some of the things that I didn't like. Again, Venom turns up too late, like I say. It's pretty much halfway through the movie, and it does feel like a large chunk was taken out. But I think they took the chunks out of the wrong place from the way that the movie looks. Like, it seems as if the first 45 minutes they didn't really touch, and then all the cool shit with Venom, they took out a load of stuff from there. And I was just like...
You can tell that they definitely tried to trim it down just so they could lower the rating, so more people could see it. It should have been like a full-on 18.
Yeah, show us him biting heads off. Show us a bit of blood.
To be fair, like when he does bite people's heads off, it happens so quick and it's so dark that you can barely see it anyway.
Yeah. And
I kind of cheated with that.
Yeah, so did I. I thought that was a bit weird. But it's also kind of weird, because don't they say in the film that the human actually eats the head?
I can't remember, but if that's the case, then that's really kind of weird.
It is weird.
I don't think that works.
But another thing that I found really bizarre as well, and this is why I said that it felt a bit rushed, is because towards the end there's that moment where Eddie's like, oh, what made you change your mind? Then Venom comes in and he's like, you did, Eddie. And it's like, how have you got to that moment?
Yeah. Well, how are they suddenly like best bros?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they did have some really, really funny moments together. Like, I personally really like where they're at the top of that really tall building and he's just like, jump. And then next you see him at the lift, pussy.
To be fair, that did make me laugh. That was a funny moment.
Yeah.
I did like that.
I did like She-Venom having a cameo as well, where she's in the Venom suit.
Yeah, it was quite strange to see.
Yeah, but like she's a comic character and it's like, give me a kiss and all that sort of stuff. I thought that was quite cool.
I didn't think... The villain definitely doesn't work.
No, the villain was another generic, bland villain.
It was such a waste of Riz Ahmed as well, because I love him in Nightcrawler and he's great in Rogue One.
Isn't he in the Kidulthood, Adulthood movies as well?
I haven't seen them.
Or is he in the spoof one? I can't remember, but yeah, he is a really good actor. I do quite like him.
Yeah, so he felt completely wasted as the villain, but his motivations weren't clear why he was this evil dude. It was like he was evil for the sake of being evil. And those kind of villains are just
boring,
not interesting to me at all. If they're evil for the sake of being evil because the plot demands it, then I really don't care.
No, you need a compelling villain that doesn't feel like they're in the wrong. To them, the villain is the good guy, and hero, whoever it may be, they're the bad guy. That's how the villain would perceive it. But with this, it's just like, "Mwahaha, symbiotes, I'm going to take people," and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I didn't like that.
They,
But
they portrayed Venom as more of a hero than an anti-hero sometimes as well, where Wright was the big bad. I think there should have been more
conflict.
drama. Yeah, more drama between them, where it's like, look, we're in the same boat here. There's not a great deal of difference between us, and they could have played on that.
Yeah.
But it was more or less just a big monster bash at the end, which, from what I remember, was actually quite a dull end fight, and it was over rather quickly.
It was over quickly, but I enjoyed it for what it was, because I like where you see them tearing the symbiotes off of each other. I thought that was pretty
Visually,
cool.
it looks great. In the trailer, though.
Yeah, that's true.
There's certain things, it's like, don't put it in the trailer.
No, I know. I think they saved a fair bit, though. I don't think that it was another case of Spider-Man Homecoming where you watch the trailer and it's the movie. Like, I don't think it was that. Iron Man 1, yeah, as well. That was...
whole movie is just in that 2.5 minutes.
Which is
literally beat.
Which is mental to think as well, because so anybody listening, go back and watch the very first trailer for Iron Man from 2008, and it's the film, like literally the entire film in like 3 minutes, like you say. It is really bizarre. But in terms of success at the box office, Venom actually did better than Justice League.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's. It has found its audience as well, and a lot of people do seem to enjoy it. I just personally don't at all.
Would you see a sequel? I'm glad
because they brought in Carnage Cletus Cassidy by the end, with Woody Harrelson in a
terrible
looking wig.
It was a terrible wig.
Very strange. So, I mean, we knew Carnage was going to show up at some point. It would have been incredibly rude not to. But if they're going to do Carnage, they need to up the violence.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're going to turn it down with Venom, fine, because he's never been the most violent characters, but Carnage is just a pure psychopath.
Yeah.
Venom has that anti-hero vibe to him where it's like, protect the innocents, he only really wants to kill Spider-Man. Carnage will kill anybody and he really doesn't care.
No.
So they need to really have a film where it shows how savage and brutal Carnage can be. They cannot tone down Carnage.
No.
They just can't.
If they do, that's going to be suicide. But I mean, I honestly think that I'd definitely see a sequel to this.
They're definitely going to do it.
Oh no, I know that they're going to do it, but I'm saying that I would definitely see a sequel because I enjoyed this one enough. Like I say, I didn't get everything I wanted from it, but there's a lot of fun here for me. But the one thing that's really frustrating is I'd love to see this Venom against Spider-Man.
Aren't they planning that anyway? Didn't they say that was going to be? That was going to happen at some point. They're not sure when or how they're going to do it, but they are eventually planning on having a Venom Spider-Man confrontation.
I don't know, because they keep flip-flopping. Sometimes, yep, it's definitely happening. Other times, nope, definitely not happening. So I don't know. It's really frustrating. But I loved it because this fight between Spider-Man and Venom, like Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Tom Hardy's Venom, it would really remind me of the Ultimate series. Like, you've got Spider-Man who is relatively small, not like scrawny, but he's well built, but sort of like skinny, muscular. And then you've got this massive, imposing Venom, and I just think that would be so cool. But then again, where would the motivation be for this Venom to fight Spider-Man?
Yeah, by removing Spider-Man from the origin story, it kind of takes away the sole reason Venom hates Spider-Man so much.
Because I did a video on this a while ago, and I said one possibility that they could do is, for some reason, Eddie and the symbiote get separated, the symbiote finds Spider-Man, and then Eddie sees the symbiote with Spider-Man and then resents him, and then obviously Peter will reject the symbiote, and then the symbiote will reject him, and all this stuff. But it's sort of like doing the origin. It's sort of like going around the houses to do what you should have done in the first place, really.
Yeah, that would be a very lazy excuse for it as well.
And I think the only natural way, where they've set it up now to be like a sequel with Spider-Man in, is to have both Venom and Spider-Man team up to fight Carnage. But then that plays into what you were just saying then, where because it's a Spider-Man movie, you can't have Carnage the way that you would want to see Carnage. So it's kind of a lose-lose, really. Because I can't think of another way to incorporate Spider-Man into this, if they were going to, which hopefully they are.
I think by doing this standalone Venom film, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot with all of this. Now, it's like, well, you've got this kind of weird origin movie with Venom. Where can they really go from there? I'm not keen on seeing a second one. I'll still see it if they do make it, which they probably will. But I'm not all that invested in what they've done so far.
I think they'll have learned. by the second one. I think they'll take on board, because I mean, now it's established. Like I say, I personally felt like the best stuff was with Eddie and Venom and some of the action sequences, and they're like dynamic together. Like, who the hell is this guy? Like, put your hands up. And it's like, what are you doing? I'm putting my hands up. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Like, that sort of stuff. Now that you've got that, you've got the groundwork there, the next movie is just going to be, like, pretty much all that. And I think that's what people want. So I think the sequel definitely has a bigger chance to be better. But if this is going to be, like, the start of the Sony Spider-Man universe, which doesn't have Spider-Man in it, maybe what they could do is, because there's a rumoured Kraven the Hunter movie, isn't there? Yeah, that was my reaction when I first heard about it as well.
I mean,
but
Kraven's not one of the A-list villains of, in the Spider-Man lore at all.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
He's very kind of C grade. He doesn't warrant his own film.
No, not at all. However, obviously there's that famous comic book story where you have Kraven hunting Spider-Man. He's like the main trophy that he wants to get to sort of complete his collection or whatever it is. What if you twisted that and instead of it being Spider-Man, he hunts Venom?
That could work.
I honestly think that could work. And I think it's the only thing that they could do in a Kraven the Hunter... I think it's the only thing that they could do in a Kraven the Hunter movie that would actually get me to go and see it. Because I don't care who you get. You could get the guy that is just absolutely perfect for Kraven. He's just not that interesting enough of a character. But if it's Kraven hunting Venom, I think that could definitely be a moneymaker, personally.
Kraven's Last Hunt would definitely be a wise story to adapt.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, they wouldn't be able to tone it down, because there's some brutal stuff in there, like Kraven eating spiders and all sorts. It gets really kind of twisted. And I think that's why I like it so much. But that would be the only Kraven story that would make logical sense for them to adapt.
Because if the sequel was going to be R-rated, if they, like I say, if they did learn from the first one and think, okay, we'll go a bit more full on, that could work with Kraven. Like, make it R-rated, and then you can have Venom biting people's heads off again, and then you can have Kraven doing all the stuff you were saying. I think that could really work, actually. If you're Sony, if you're listening, like, do that. Like, that's what everybody wants. Just do some good stuff. Because I was really looking forward to the Silver and Black movie as well. You know, the Silver Sable and Black Cat. But now they've separated it into two. I don't think those characters by themselves are interesting enough to warrant a movie each. Like, if they teamed up together, yeah. It's similar to me to be like, I don't really want a Black Widow movie as such. She's a fine character and she's a great member of the Avengers, but I don't think that there's enough to her to warrant a movie. However, you incorporate Hawkeye into that, and I think, yeah, that works.
I think they definitely would, because don't they keep bringing up that mission, like, over and over again?
Budapest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to see in a movie.
Come on, tell us.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be like the last act of that movie if they were planning on it. But I think there is enough. I think there is enough for a Black Widow solo movie.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it'd be pretty good.
I think it's the same with Hawkeye. Like, he's a fine character, but I can't see him holding a movie by himself.
I love how when Hawkeye started out, he was the character that nobody really liked, but he's kind of like gathered a bit of respect from viewers now.
Yeah.
I think ever since like Joss Whedon wrote him in Age of Ultron, I was like, oh, he's a family man. He was like, yeah, we can get behind this guy.
I actually think he's Civil War. I think he's a lot better in Civil War.
Age of Ultron for me. That's when I started liking his character a bit more. He was very, very boring in the first Avengers, but then again, he does spend half the time possessed anyway. So
yeah, that's true.
Wasn't a great introduction for Hawkeye.
But going back to Venom, I've just thought of something else. So if they are going to incorporate him into the MCU, or vice versa, I think something that they could do, and I don't know if they've actually done this in the comics yet, but like you were saying before, they don't really seem to be going with the anti-hero thing that much. He is more of a hero who does bad shit.
And it's kind of confusing when even on the posters it said the world has enough superheroes.
Yeah.
So it's with that, it's like, oh, he's going to definitely be like the anti-hero or leaning more towards a villain. But he was more of a hero in this film completely. I didn't see any kind of evil at all.
No, not really. But
he definitely wasn't a villain in that.
Do you think maybe if they do incorporate him, he isn't a villain for Spider-Man? However, he could eventually join the Avengers in some way.
Do you reckon they do like the Agent Venom thing?
I really don't like Agent Venom, to be honest. I'd stick with Eddie Brock, but like this Venom now, like I personally could, or even the Guardians even, because Agent Venom has joined the the Guardians before.
Mm.
So, I don't know. I honestly think that this franchise definitely has some legs to it, and I definitely think that it could go places. I just think that it all depends on Sony. If they learn from the first one, because whilst you absolutely hated it and said it was the worst movie of the year so far...
Oh, no, I don't think it was, actually. I think...
Oh, what is it now, then? Have you changed your mind?
Oh, I've seen some bad ones. I didn't like the first Purge. I thought that was quite terrible. I think Venom's probably the most disappointing film for me this year. I think the first Purge is still probably the worst one so far. But Venom's up there for me. It's still a very bad movie.
Nah, I don't know what you're talking about. We are Venom. Bleh. Love it.
We are bored.
Speak for yourself. Anyway, right, well, let's move on to the main topic of today, which is something that, I'll be honest with you, I suggested this as the topic myself, and I can't be fucking arsed, which is the state of Star Wars. It's one of them things now where it's just like every time you hear something new, it's just like, do I have to pay attention to this? Like, Star Wars, bearing in mind, is one of the best science fiction... Well, no, not even science fiction. One of the best movie franchises ever. It was a huge part of my childhood. Even the prequels, like I had Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace on video. Like, that's how old I am.
Attack of the Clones is underrated. I'm throwing that out there.
It is. It's not great, but it's definitely not as bad as people make it out to be.
It's definitely overhated. People give it, like, way too much shit. Like, it does have its flaws, but... People are making out that it's one of the worst films ever made. It's not.
No, it's really not. However,
it's got a lot of good stuff in there.
I used to absolutely adore this franchise. Like, I had lightsabers and costumes and action figures and plushies of Ewoks or Yoda or whatever it was. And I absolutely just fucking loved it. Nowadays, it feels like a chore to sit through it. And I don't mean the original trilogy or, to a degree, the prequels as well, but I think the more and more these movies come out, and it does feel like they are doing it in a MCU way, the fact that, we'll have to do 2 a year and that sort of thing, it just feels like, one, too much Star Wars, but not only that, the quality just isn't there anymore. So my question to you is, do you care about Star Wars anymore?
I'll always care about Star Wars. I'm always going to be, an avid fan of it. I mean, I watched Solo a couple of weeks back.
Oh,
finally.
I haven't seen that yet. I refuse to watch it just because it's not interesting.
I went in going in with an open mind, and also I'm a completionist, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to sit down and watch this because I feel like I can't trash it until I've actually seen it.
Good point.
And then it was a very, very odd film. It's not a nice film to look at.
Right.
Like whereas Rogue One and even Last Jedi, they've looked great.
Yeah.
Solo really doesn't. The visuals aren't that appealing to the eye whatsoever, and it's criminally boring. It didn't need to happen. I think that was what everyone was saying as soon as it was announced. It's like, we don't need this film. And as soon as it finished, I still believe that. I was like, that really didn't add anything to this universe at all. It felt very forced. I didn't care about any of the new characters they brought in. There's no clear villain to it, and there's no clear plot. And I was speaking to someone about this at the pub not too long ago. And I said I was a big fan of Rogue One, but I really didn't like Solo, because Solo was a film that was just used to fill in the gaps. And he said, yeah, but that was what Rogue One was. And I said, no, there is a fundamental difference between Rogue One and Solo. Rogue One took a line from the original Crawl. So it had that concept, and you could summarize it. It was like the rebels stealing the Death Star plans. There you go. That's the plot of the movie. Solo doesn't take a grand concept. It's a movie about Han Solo, and he does this, and then he does this, and then he does this. And there's no, major story to it. It's just Han Solo just does a bunch of things that aren't interesting. And it's just their attempt to just fill in all these little gaps, like how he met Chewie and how he got his gun, and even his name, which was
I've heard about that scene.
It's completely pointless. And you would have thought, if with someone from the Empire saying, "Oh yeah, your name is now Solo," you would have thought he would have been like, "Oh, I'll just drop it after a bit then." But then he keeps it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, just have his name be Han Solo.
Yeah, they didn't need to go so far into it. I was like, this is where he also got his name from. It's like where he got the dice from. It's like, no one cared about the dice.
Yeah, where did the dice come from? Like, that was something that... Was it Last Jedi that really pushed that?
Yeah, and it's like I'm pretty sure no one really cared about the dice to begin with, but they've made it this thing now with Han Solo's dice.
I
I
don't remember
couldn't
them
even
in
tell
the
you.
original trilogy at all. I mean, I've seen pictures and I know that they're there, but I couldn't have told you that they were. And
They're just a random prop on the Millennium Falcon.
what was
They're
so
not relevant.
no, but what was so funny as well was when I went to the cinema to watch The Last Jedi, and obviously there's that scene where Luke gives Leia the dice, and like it's supposed to be like a memory of Han Solo thing. I saw that and I was just like, that's going to be a big deal in Solo, isn't it? And it was. Like this. Oh, it's just a movie that didn't need to be made. But I don't think Solo's even the problem. I think the state of Star Wars now, after The Last Jedi, which there's going to be war in the comments over this, because some people think it's a masterpiece, other people think it's a massive pile of shit. I fall in the category of the latter. I genuinely think it is the worst Star Wars movie, or at least Star Wars saga movie, that we've ever had. Purely because it's so ridiculous in its execution. Like, there's so many plot holes in it. And look, there's plenty of plot holes in other Star Wars movies, but at least they had some logical sense to them. There was none in The Last
The
Jedi.
the worst part about Last Jedi for me was it didn't build upon anything that J.J. Abrams set up in The Force Awakens. That's a huge problem for me, because now JJ's probably doing, well, he's doing episode 9, and he's probably thinking, well, I had written story treatments for 7, 8, and 9.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew where all this was going when he set up these plot points.
Enter Ryan
then-
Johnson.
And then they do Last Jedi and kind of forget about everything he set up, and he was like, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing completely. And in the process, kind of fucked it,
Yeah.
really. And now it's got to a point where the way Last Jedi ends, it should have been like,
Episode 9. The ending of
yeah,
episode
and
9.
it should have been like a cliffhanger of some kind, like Empire Strikes Back, or like even when Attack of the Clones ends, it's like that ends with the Clone Wars starting and Anakin and Padme and their secret marriage. So you kind of know what you're going to going into with the next one, with episode 3. Like, okay, it's going to be the Clone Wars, and they're going to keep their marriage a secret. With the way the Last Jedi ended, how it ends is exactly how it begins. Like, nothing's changed for anybody.
Nobody grows
Like,
from it. Nobody learns.
No one grows. No, everyone's more or less exactly where they started at the beginning of the film. And the worst part is, like, these two movies so far have taken place for more or less what feels like a long weekend.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like that. But one thing that really pisses me off is, listen, right? I don't want to. If anybody's listening and they absolutely adore The Last Jedi, I don't want to take that away from you. Like, if you genuinely enjoy it, then that is fine.
That's great.
However,
I mean, I wish we could.
Yeah, so do I. But this is the thing, right? This is what really pisses me off, is that argument where people say, but it subverted expectations. Yeah, but it didn't do it well, did it? Like, Infinity War, now that subverts your expectations. In fact, there's a video on YouTube, I can't remember who by now, so I am sorry if that person is listening, but they did a fantastic video about how Star Wars The Last Jedi and Infinity War both subverted your expectations, and the execution is so totally different. Like, people expected characters to die in Infinity War, yes, but they didn't expect half the universe being fucking wiped out. They didn't expect Thanos to win, but it happened, and it's somehow what could have been so incredibly controversial, they pulled it off. Yet with The Last Jedi, it just felt like, I will just do this, this, and this because people won't be expecting it. There was not a lot of thought behind it, and I think the thing that really has harmed the Star Wars brand is the people behind it. And I'm talking about producers, I'm talking about directors, writers, cast members who are coming out and saying, well, if you didn't like it, then, it's just because you're a bigot, or it's because you just didn't get it, or because blah, blah, blah. How about I just don't like your fucking film?
Sadly, that is the case with a lot of it
And
as well.
breathe.
I mean, I hope J.J. Abrams can do something great with Episode 9. I'm not looking forward to it myself from the way Last
No.
Jedi ended. 'Cause it feels like, because Lando's coming back, so I wonder how he's going to die.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
feels like that's what they're doing now. If they bring back an original character, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to kill him off in a ridiculous way. But when Force Awakens came out, I really liked The Force Awakens.
I did, but with hindsight, no, because I think Last Jedi ruins it a bit. Because it's going
it
nowhere.
definitely does. Yeah, it's definitely ruined that film for me. But when it first came out, when Force Awakens came out, I was like, great, Star Wars is definitely back. Rogue One came out, I was like, yes, I'm loving this. Disney are doing a great job. Then Last Jedi comes out, and then Solo piles on top of it, and you're like, ooh, right, okay. They don't really know what they're doing as much, but there
No.
are still good things that have come out of the Disney Star Wars. Star Wars Rebels is great. That really is a fantastic series. The Marvel comics that they're doing now, the Darth Vader stuff, the Darth Maul stuff, all that's great, and a few of the novels are pretty decent as well. So, I mean, we're getting Jon Favreau's TV show, The Mandalorian.
That looks good, from what I've seen.
That could be great, and Jon Favreau usually does very good projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hyped for that. But I only wish they had maybe gone with the treatments that George Lucas had written for his versions of 7, 8, and 9. Instead of trashing them completely.
I don't think they even needed to do that. I think they just needed to think of a plan and stick to it. Like, what George Lucas did so well, which isn't necessarily true for the original trilogy because he did make up a lot of it as he went along, but it seemed like in his head he had an idea of where it was going, whereas now, and the prequels even more so, you can tell that episode 1, 2 and 3 feels like a beginning, a middle and an end chapter. This trilogy,
definitely.
you've got the start with Force Awakens, which feels like, okay, there's a lot of ideas here. Some of them might have worked, some of them might not have done. That's fair enough. But at least you had something there to build upon. Then you go to The Last Jedi, where you just forget everything. And then it's just like, well, now I don't know where Episode 9 is going to be able to go. Like, it doesn't really feel like there's a natural way to do this next movie. And the rumour is, coming from Disney, that J.J. Abrams is doing a bit of course correction with this one.
Yeah.
So
it wouldn't be that JJ will go back to some of the ideas that he'd written down originally. So whether he's going to somehow bring back Snoke and say he was, the version that we saw down was a clone or something. I don't
bring
know.
back Luke or whatever.
Yeah, maybe Luke didn't die, transported to a different planet or something. I don't know. He could literally do anything, but
it just wouldn't feel right now, would it?
And you could tell that if that was something that happened, like, oh yeah, both of them aren't really dead, you could tell that they probably did that because so many people were annoyed at the fact of how Snoke died and why Luke died at the end. Because Luke's story doesn't feel complete yet.
No.
It doesn't. Like, the image of Luke looking at the twin sons before his death is great.
Yeah.
If his death had been warranted by the end. But his story just feels incomplete. It's like there is still so much that he's yet to do. And it feels like he's just backed out of it. Like, he's pretty much like caused shit for the entire universe. It's like he saves him one time and he's like, well, that's me done.
Yeah, exactly. Just, the universe is in a worse state than ever. Well, you're on your own then. Like,
yeah.
But I think that's the main frustration for me that came out of The Last Jedi, is the way that they handled Luke Skywalker. And people, again, they have their opinions on this. Some people think that Luke was treated exactly the same way as he was in the original trilogy. Other people, like myself, think that wasn't really Luke.
No,
I think
it wasn't.
My big gripe is that scene where he was the reason that Kylo Ren became Kylo Ren, essentially. Yeah. I just so much disagree with the fact that Luke sensed the dark side within him and his initial thought was to kill him. I loathe that. I absolutely loathe that, because that's not what he would have done. He would have seen what happened with his father. He would have seen what would have happened with himself, even in Return of the Jedi, and think, right, okay, there's a way I need to deal with this. Not just, fuck it, I can't be arsed, I'll kill him. That'll do. Like, that
his story and development just seems completely undone in that one scene.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind the fact that he's a hermit and that he feels guilty about, Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren and like the whole.
But we still haven't seen yet.
No.
Well, who are the Knights of Ren?
Well, they went.
What are they doing?
Well, nobody cares at this point, do they? Like, you introduce them in Episode 9, people are just like, who are they again? But I don't know. But
the moment's gone now.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the real problem is it's the personnel and the people and their attitude that I think really fucking stinks with Star Wars at the minute.
That was a big thing that put me off Solo. When there was all that controversy surrounding that film, it just put me off it completely. It's like, I don't want to know. I'll go and see something else.
Yeah. Because it's like, regardless, right, I do sympathise somewhat with Rian Johnson in the sense that, okay, you've made a movie, and it's a movie as part of a franchise that you, allegedly, but not evidently, really love. And then people trash you for it, and you're getting abuse daily on Twitter and on Instagram, and like hearing different articles about you and YouTube video. No, I don't either. So to that extent, I do sympathise the fact that a lot of people gave him a lot of shit.
Yeah, you can dislike a movie, fine, but as soon as you start harassing him on Twitter, that's when you're taking it a bit too far.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same with Kelly Marie Tran. Like, regardless of what you think of Rose Tico, it's not her fault. She did the best with what she was given.
Yeah.
I loathe Rose Tico. I think she is one of the fucking worst characters in Star Wars. I don't hold a grudge against Kelly Marie Tran because I'm separating the reality from the fiction. But what I will say is I hate the attitude that people have taken. Rian Johnson, for one, clearly has not been professional. You just have to look at his Twitter page for that. Like, he's clearly just attacking fans back. And do it, like I say, to a certain extent I can understand it, but at the end of the day, you are representing Disney, you are representing the Disney brand, the Star Wars brand, you're representing yourself, and you're just coming across like a massive twat.
You'd never see George Lucas take it to Twitter and then say, no, you just don't get it. He got on with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, accept criticism. Like, not all criticism is coming from a place of bigotry or hate or anything like that. Some people genuinely didn't like the movie because of the plot, because of certain character choices, certain direction, anything like that, and that is totally and utterly justified. You are not going to get
reasons,
you're not going to get every single movie 100% bang on. I don't think there is a movie out there that is 100% perfect. Every single movie has its flaws, and granted, The Last Jedi has quite a few, and people pointed them out, and that's all right. But to just snap back and say, ooh, it's just like the default, because it's like there was a whole thing. I can't remember who said it now, but somebody came out, I think it might have been J.J. Abrams actually, who came out and said, well, I think Star Wars fans are just intimidated by the fact that, it's led by women and minorities now. And I just thought...
The thing is, I hate that claim. Women have always been played such a pivotal role in sci-fi. When I think of iconic sci-fi characters,
Ripley,
the first
Leia,
ones I always think of, and Sarah Connor,
yeah,
those three.
Yeah.
They always come to mind first. And even springboarding off sci-fi with horror. Like the final girls, the Scream Queens, are just as iconic as the slasher icons.
Mm.
So you have Nancy Thomas in Nightmare on Elm Street, Sidney Prescott in Scream,
Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween.
Yeah, who's also returned this year and did an amazing job.
I haven't seen that yet, actually.
The final girls in Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's always the final girl that defeats the slasher at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this thing has suddenly come from. It's like, oh, you're intimidated by women, because that's clearly not the case. Just look at the success of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example.
Exactly. And what baffles me is that argument is even used at all, because, look...
It feels like a cheap way out of avoiding criticism.
Yeah, and especially when you're talking about a franchise such as Star Wars, it doesn't really feel like a genuine thing. Like, I'm sure there may be a very small percentage of people who are just like, oh, women can't be Jedi, but one, those people are fucking idiots, and two, clearly aren't Star Wars fans, because Ahsoka, for one, and to say to Star Wars fans especially that you're intimidated by strong female characters, knowing that the majority of these people adore Princess Leia.
Yeah.
It's absurd. And it just seems like an easy thing, because if you play the bigot card, then it's like a get-out-of-jail-free card. And I'm not saying that that's the case all over the place. I don't want people to misconstrue me here, but in this example, it doesn't feel... It's from a genuine place. It just feels like, well, we'll just say people are sexist or something. Like, it just doesn't work for me.
No. Nothing is above criticism.
No.
Nothing. And it's like, even like with Force Awakens, like, I loved Rey.
I did.
First introduced her. I thought she was incredibly interesting, and then they just did nothing with her in Last Jedi. They made her
perfect.
They made her too perfect. She's not an intriguing character to me anymore, which is such a huge shame as well.
And I think that's a really frustrating thing, because when because obviously there is a lot of movements and people clamouring for certain types of diversity and all this sort of stuff. I think they're missing the point. Don't just get a character who is one group or another, one identity group or another. What you have to do is you have to make the character, whoever you get to play that role, really is irrelevant, as long as they can act. But as long as you create a character that actually has some personality, has some characteristics, has flaws, and I think that's probably the most crucial thing that Rey doesn't have that really hurts her character. Like, people seem to think that if a character has flaws, that means it's playing into a sexist stereotype. But I disagree. I don't think that's the case. I think real strength comes from having the flaws, and this isn't just specifically for female characters, by the way. Real strength comes from having those flaws and overcoming them in some way, shape or form. The prime example of this, at least in the context of Star Wars, is Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi. He is 2 seconds away from converting to the dark side, and yet he realises this, and he's like, fuck. Like, I nearly just did what he wanted me to do there, and he learns from it, and then, you see he becomes a better person after, and he's just like, nope, I'm a Jedi
Yeah.
like my father before me.
Luke goes through so much progress in the original trilogy.
He does.
And even in Empire Strikes Back, it's like, yeah, he moans a lot. He can be a bit whiny.
And he's reckless
And then-
because he faces Vader when he shouldn't have done.
Yeah, and he ultimately gets his ass kicked because
Yeah.
he's not prepared for it. And then by the time you see him in Return of the Jedi, he's a badass and he's great. But he's been through that journey.
Mm.
Rey doesn't, from what we've seen so far, doesn't really seem to have gone through much of a journey yet.
No. But there's no real
She
threat.
hasn't earned it yet.
There's no real threat because imagine, right, you're watching A New Hope and there's that fight obviously with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Imagine if it plays out differently where Luke runs in, grabs Obi-Wan's lightsaber and then beats Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Doesn't
The
work,
threat
does it?
is immediately diminished.
Yeah, exactly. And then automatically you're just like, well, there's no threat then because that's the big bad and I've defeated him in movie 1 knowing that there's going to be 2 more. Rey's already done that. She's already beaten Kylo Ren. So I don't really see... I mean, obviously you know that the hero is going to win in the end. Obviously.
Yeah,
like even with the
that's
next
a given.
Avengers film, you know that the characters are going to overcome Thanos and eventually win. But it's the journey to get there. If you win immediately, it just makes the next 2 films redundant because you just know that Rey's going to best Kylo Ren anyway because she's already done it.
Yeah. And I don't like that they're bringing in this like potential love element to their relationship.
No,
either.
that is weird and it does feel
It's like
forced.
she watched Kylo Ren kill Han Solo,
Mm-hmm.
who he says in the film, oh, he's like a father figure to you. And I think in the context of the film, it's like 2 days later and they're having like 4 Skype conversations and she's like, there's good in you. It's like, what the fuck? Where did this come from?
If anything, that feels more sexist because they have to have some sort of romantic element with the female character.
It doesn't make a lot. It's very all over the place at the moment, and I wish they'd have stuck with either George Lucas's treatments or J.J. Abrams' treatments. They can't just make one movie, think, oh, what we're going to do for the second one, do something then, and then think, okay, we've got to think about what we're going to do next, because then you just get a jumbled mess of a trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, based on everything that has happened, I mean, obviously, we've just touched on the backlash towards The Last Jedi, and like the box office for Solo was not great, and that movie didn't receive great reviews either. And obviously, we've again spoken about people that have come out and said things towards the fans, and there's a bit of a back and forth, like an us versus them type thing. Do you think that the brand itself has been damaged beyond repair?
Not beyond repair. I think there's still so much you can do with Star Wars, and it all depends on. I think what they do with Episode 9 is going to be incredibly important. Because if JJ can save it with Episode 9, great. If Jon Favreau's TV series turns out fantastic, which I'm sure it will, that will also help it a great deal as well. I really think Dave Filoni needs to do more projects with them, because he was the man behind the Clone Wars TV series and Rebels, and he's just he knows Star Wars. Like if you get him doing more stuff, then we're going to get more quality. They're already toning down the amount of movies that they're going to bring out. Like Boba Fett's been cancelled now,
Yeah.
as have so many other films.
Obi-Wan
So
as well, I
just-
think.
Yeah, if they just take a step back, just do Episode 9, do The Mandalorian, don't think about anything else yet, just put all the attention into that, and then, depending on how that goes, that's when you can start thinking about stuff. Because I'm still a huge Star Wars fanboy. I still love reading the comics and the books, and I can rewatch, the majority of the movies, with the exception of the last 2, because I don't have any urge to rewatch Force Awakens. Whether Episode 9 changes that, I don't know. If
No.
it changes, does a complete course correction, and then has everything suddenly make sense again, I have no idea. I don't think it's going to be the case where Luke wakes up and it was all a dream.
Well, imagine. Or Anakin. Hayden Christensen's there like, whew, what a dream that was. You alright, Padme? Right.
I want him. I do want Hayden Christensen to return. Be
Yeah.
it as Anakin or Vader or whatever. I do want him turning up at some point.
Well, I
it
mean,
doesn't make much sense to me that he wouldn't have appeared to Kylo Ren yet and say like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
well, Force Ghosts can do anything now, can't they? I mean, the lightning thing, like, what was that about? Like, what I thought when I saw that scene where Yoda came back and just struck the lightning, I was like, where were you this entire time then? Like, we've had to fight through 2 different fucking totalitarian, authoritarian, whatever it is, like, powers destroying multiple planets, and you're like the most powerful Jedi of all time, arguably, and you're just like on your ass, not doing anything. But as soon as there's a fucking tree and books involved, you're like, oh, I burned them, I will. Like, fuck off.
And he hasn't really burnt the books either.
No, because Rey nicked them.
Because Rey's got them.
Yeah.
So that when Yoda came back, because I do initially really like that scene, but the fact that Rey's taken the books now and they're watching just a tree burn with nothing in it, it kind of takes something away from that now.
Yeah, it was a really, really bizarre moment. Interesting thing is, and I think I mentioned this to you before, about there's something quite odd that's come out about Episode 9, like a rumour that potentially a direction that they're going to go into.
You had mentioned this before, but you decided to save it until now, so what's this rumour?
Well, I don't know if you've heard this, but one, Matt Smith, I think, is rumoured to be cast, or is already cast for Episode 9.
Yeah, I'd heard that. That's perked my intrigue, because, 11th Doctor, favorite Doctor, so I'm looking forward to that.
Which is quite apt, really, because this is a great segue, by the way. Which is quite apt that a former Time Lord is in this, because time travel is rumoured to be being introduced into Episode 9. Which I think would be suicide for the Star Wars franchise. I mean, they've already introduced it in Rebels. I don't really know, because I don't watch Rebels. I'm not going to sit here and lie my way through it, but
I do believe that takes place in season 4, but I'm not 100% caught up yet.
Yeah, so time travel in Star Wars, does it work?
Depends what they do. If they go back and undo Last Jedi, I'm all for it, but
even then, I don't think it works.
Oh, could you imagine if they just went back to the very beginning and just killed Palpatine before he came into power?
Well, the rumour is that Matt Smith is going to be playing a young Palpatine.
Okay.
To me, this sounds like a massive mess waiting to happen.
It all depends how they execute these ideas. Because on paper it could sound horrible, but when we see it in action, it might turn out to be a very interesting idea. I mean, when is it, next year?
Yeah, next Christmas possibly, yeah.
Okay, so we've got plenty of time to see how this would pan out. It could work, maybe. If they do it in the same way that, from what I've seen in Rebels, if they incorporate some of that into it, because I want to see Ahsoka in one of these movies at some point. I would quite happily have an Ahsoka Ventress movie. I think that would be pretty fantastic.
That would be pretty good, actually.
Yeah, because they're two of my favourite Star Wars characters. There, I think they'd be absolutely fantastic on the big screen together. But I don't know. Maybe JJ can pull off. Maybe he can do something quite special with it and save this trilogy before it just collapses completely.
Oh, Brandon is calling me. Should we get him on for a cameo? He won't be able to hear you though, but...
Right, okay.
Right. Hello?
Hello.
Right, I'm currently recording a podcast with Dan and you're on it, so...
Oh.
A few inches later.
Where were we now?
Saving Star Wars with Episode 9.
Oh, what I was going to say was, the time travel thing, isn't that something that J.J. Abrams incorporated in his Star Trek movies? Like, you had the Leonard Nimoy Spock, the older one, and then you had the Zachary Quinto. Is it Zachary Quinto?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you had those two Spocks, and there was a bit of time travel aspects there. Like, does that work in Star Wars, though? Because I can't see... Like, you had maybe old Luke and Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan talking to Rey, and maybe Vader's back, and I don't know, it just seems like it opens a much bigger can of worms, and I think Star Wars really needs to play it more safe at the minute, because I mean Last Jedi was a massive risk and I don't think that paid off on the whole.
It could go one or two ways. They could either pull it off magnificently, or they could just kill it dead. It can go one or two ways. I've no idea how it could pan out.
It's a really tough one, because at this point you don't really want to repeat what's come before, but I think because people expect a certain thing from Star Wars, if you deviate from that even just a little bit, then I just don't think people accept it. So you are sort of locked in a box, really, even though Star Wars was such an innovative thing at the time when it first came out. I can't talk properly today. Innovative. There we go.
Like I said, it can go one or two ways. JJ might be able to, pull something out of the bag with this and do something pretty great. Who knows?
Potentially.
I'll still end up watching it, but I'm not looking forward to it.
Are you going to watch it in the cinema, though?
Well, I probably won't rush out to see it.
No.
Like I have done, like I did with Rogue One and Force Awakens and even Last Jedi.
But the thing,
Solo was the first one that I hadn't seen in the cinemas.
Oh wow.
Since Attack of the Clones, so.
It was so funny though, because I think you saw Last Jedi. Yeah, you did. You saw Last Jedi before me, and I went to well, for people who don't know, who are listening, I live in a place called Stockport, and recently they just done up this new cinema complex, and the first movie that I saw at this complex, which is very, very nice on the inside, not the outside. I think it was voted like the ugliest building in the Northwest. Anyway, so I went in there, really nice cinema. My first experience of said cinema is watching The Last Jedi, and I remember texting you straight after, and you were just like, you're not going to like this, before I went in. And then I came out, I was like, I really fucking didn't like that. And then I was just ranting to you with text after text, just like, they killed off Luke. Why was Yoda there? She's a cunt, that General Holdo, whatever her name is, Admiral Holdo, Admiral fucking Feminist, or whatever she was. And it was just...
a sad waste of Laura Dern, who is normally terrific.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I just can't be arsed with Star Wars now. I just think it's one of those franchises where...
What, like it may have had its day?
Potentially, yeah. I actually do think that. Because I really wanted to like these movies a lot more than I did. And it's like, I'm not on the same page as you, because I'm not a massive fan of Rogue One either. I thought that was quite a bland movie, and it wasn't what I really expected it to be, or really what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be like a really gritty war movie, but it wasn't really that. And I thought Jyn Erso was really boring. I didn't like any of the characters that much. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Solo yet, but I don't want to. The one sort of anthology movie that I did want to see was Obi-Wan, but that's not fucking happening now.
They maybe should have done that instead of Solo.
Oh, definitely. No, but the best thing about Han Solo is the fact that you don't really know that much about him. All right, well, no, that's not the best thing, but that's one of the good things about Han Solo. But
one of the alluring things about his characters.
Yeah, the fact that he is this sort of
intriguing part.
Yeah, and his past isn't that important, but seeing Obi-Wan's journey from Revenge of the Sith, where he had everything, he was this elite Jedi master and general for the Republic, and he had his best friend as his apprentice, and then it all just falls to shit, and you see him as this really dishevelled hermit old man in A New Hope, and to see that transition would have been incredibly fascinating, and I don't think there's a Star Wars fan out there that wouldn't have wanted to have seen that.
I think the closest we're going to get to that now is in Rebels Season 3.
Yeah, which wasn't that rewarding, because I've seen the Darth Maul stuff, and
the fight.
Yeah.
I think it's clever looking back on it, how they actually did that fight, that he uses the same, or Darth Maul uses the same tactic he used to kill Qui-Gon, but Obi-Wan saw that coming and used that to his advantage. I think that was it, because you can't have Obi-Wan doing flips and all sorts.
Oh no, I wasn't expecting that.
In Rebels, and then have him just not do anything at all in A New Hope. So by keeping it that simple, but by keeping it simple by also incorporating elements in fight moves from Phantom Menace, was a real clever way of going about it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I just think that this franchise is on the way down, really, and it's a shame, because I don't think that this is exclusive to Star Wars. I think there's quite a few franchises at the minute where they should be doing better than what they actually are, but they're just not.
Doctor Who.
Well, that could be one of them, yeah. We'll have to see in my Series 11 review, which you were supposed to be doing with me, but now you're not.
Please don't make me watch it.
Why?
I've seen the first 2 episodes and I'm bored.
So, you might grow into it. Let me know in the comments.
Shall we have, okay, as soon as, Series 11 finishes, shall we have, a binge weekend where we just plough through the whole thing together, take notes, and then we can do our review?
Yep.
That's the only way I see us getting through this.
Yep. I'm happy with that.
Right. Sorted.
See, you've heard it here first, viewers, so if he doesn't do it, obviously his Twitter's going to be in the description anyway, so... Well, listeners then, whatever. Viewers, listeners, either way. It's a video on YouTube, technically. But yeah, so if he doesn't do it, his Twitter's in the description. If I do the Series 11 review and he's not in it, go and abuse him.
Please don't.
Call him a sexist because he won't review a series with a woman in it.
It's not even that. It's just it's not written well so far.
I know. I'm only messing.
All right.
You're not actually a sexist.
We'll plough through this. We'll plough through it.
Yeah.
Well, definitely not. No.
No, I'm only messing. I don't want to get you in trouble with all the feminists online.
Fuck's sake.
Should we wrap it up there then?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions for in the future, then drop them in the comments below. Obviously, there was only 3 this time because it's been a while, so I couldn't find any more because I didn't look that hard and I couldn't be bothered. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. Yeah, exactly. We just wing it here. That's what we do. So anyway, yes, thank you guys for listening. Thank you to you for doing this again.
Yeah, sound. Definitely do more.
Exactly. Well, I'm forcing you to, so you don't have a choice. And again, I'll just tell people to tweet at you.
Oh no, I will. I'll definitely come on and do more. I'm sure there'll be more topics upcoming for me to want to discuss with you.
People are seriously going to think that I'm holding you hostage here. Like, you will do a podcast with me.
I'll have really cryptic tweets that.
Yeah, just like help me, or just like spell out a random assortment of words, and the first letter of each word is "Wingy is holding me captive" or something. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, if you got this far, thank you very much for listening / viewing or whatever it is that you do.
If you didn't turn off around the back cock moment, then fair play to you.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, that was awkwardly placed as well. But fuck it, we just wing it. So anyway, yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that sort of stuff. Social media links in the description for both myself and Dan. So go and check us both out. And yeah, until next time, take care of yourselves and goodbye. You're not going to say goodbye yourself?
Goodbye.
Oh, I'll leave that last bit in.